I'm an absolute beginner at blacksmithing, and recently I've been trying to build my very first workshop from scratch. We've already got the forge running and I've been getting some much needed practice in with the hammer. But before we get into the fun part of this video, I have a few more little setup jobs I need to tick off the list to get this shop fully functional. So today I've got two tasks to be getting on with. Number one is this ceramic wall right here. So yesterday what I did is I covered this ceramic wall with a rigidizer. The idea here is that ceramic wall is actually carcinogenic for you, so it's not good to be breathing it in. And so what we're going to be doing is covering it with some of this. It's called a refractory cement. This is the rigidizer, so that makes the wool like nice and thick, so you can actually put the cement onto it. So that's going to be one of the jobs for today, but also one thing that I really wanted to do is to have a blackboard right here. So what we're going to do there is put a bit of this masonry repair filler stuff just to kind of smoothen it down. The texture on the thing isn't very flat. It's this kind of like bobbly material. So I'm going to use some of this filler to make it nice and flat before painting it with some blackboard paint. Applying the refractory cement was surprisingly straightforward. I wasn't trying to make it look pretty. The main goal here is just to seal away all that harmful kale wool so it's safe to use. I followed exactly what everyone online seemed to be doing, and that was just to glove up a hand and slap it straight on. Looking back, there is one crucial step I definitely missed, taking out those vertical burners first. So now my burners are completely cemented to the forge, which, as you can probably guess, isn't ideal. Okay, status update on the forge. We've still got half a bucket left, so plenty to go there, no worries there. But you can see here, the rigidizer, I clearly missed a spot there, because whenever I'm putting any of this cement on, it kind of just peels off the wool as it goes on there, the ceramic wool. All finished up now. I'm pretty happy with that. It didn't quite like to stick to the ceiling part of it, but not too bad. So next we need to smooth down this wall right here. You can see I've taped it off, mainly just to kind of keep it a little bit neater. I guess it doesn't really need it, but yeah, I thought I got the tape anyway, I may as well do it. So next I need to figure out how to use this stuff. 350 milliliters of water per 1 kg of powder. Instead of measuring it out, I just decided to eyeball it, because reading instructions is for people who actually know what they're doing. Should I have been wearing a dust mask for this? Who knows? But I get the feeling like everything in this workshop kind of wants to kill me, so it's better to be safe than sorry. Cheers. Slapping this plaster, I don't actually know what to call it, I guess it's plaster. Anyway, slapping this plaster on the wall was actually quite fun, plus I think I did a pretty good job for a first time plasterer. Once it was somewhat set, I used a trowel to scrape off the high parts and then used my mini sander to smooth the entire thing out. And this is feeling so smooth now. I was going to hit it with some sandpaper just manually, but that did such a good job that I'm actually fine with that. It doesn't look super smooth on camera because of all the lines, but it actually feels really smooth. I'm sure when there's some paint on that, it will look great. And it's pretty dirty in here, so it's a great time for me to introduce you to one of my new favorite things in this workshop. It's this DeWalt shop vac. But this thing is so cool. It's not very loud, but it's really powerful. It just scoops up dust like nothing else. For the last few weeks, whenever I've swept in here, whenever I sweep, it just makes a plume of dust. But this thing, I mean, I spent about an hour just hoovering every single thing I could. I was hoovering all the cobwebs around here and everything. And it just cleaned this place up so nice. So now when I sweep in here, it doesn't make a huge plume of dust. With the wall finally smoothed out, all that was left to do was actually paint it. I'm just using some bog standard off the shelf chalkboard paint here, nothing too fancy. I used a little roller to get it done quickly, and after a couple of coats it was actually looking pretty good. It was also quite a relief to do some painting in here that didn't end up with me covered head to toe like it did with painting the ceiling. At this point, you're probably wondering, why am I installing a chalkboard? Am I planning to write out a daily menu for a rustic cafe? No. There's actually a very practical reason for it. When you're hammering hot steel, you often need to match a specific shape or bend a piece to a certain degree. With this setup, I can draw out the exact diagram on the wall, then I can hold the red hot metal right up to the chalkboard to see if it matches my sketch. If I tried holding a 1,000-degree piece of metal up to a piece of paper, it would instantly burst into flames, which is obviously something I want to actively avoid in this workshop. It's actually a very common setup in a proper blacksmith shop, so for once I'm actually doing something by the book. So we got a bit of a problem. I've just finished this chalkboard. It's looking really nice. I haven't tested it yet because it's still a little bit damp, but I've put a couple coats on it and it looks fantastic. For my birthday, I asked for this really big stacking shelving unit, but that was before I rearranged the workshop. Originally, this workbench was meant to be along here and I was going to put the shelving at the back, so I measured everything up to the back. But here's the problem. Now everything's moved, I'm not really sure where I should put it. Ideally, it can only really go either here or it can kind of go here. So I've just been doing some measuring. This is how long it's going to be, and the blue tape marker here is how far out it's going to be. So if it's here, that means this gas bottle is probably going to have to be in the shelving unit because I don't really want it any closer to this. And the problem is if this is pretty much as far as I can tuck it back in this corner, which means it's going to end up about here, which is right in line with the forge. Now, I could put it on this side, but I've just made this nice chalkboard. So I'm not really sure what to do. I think what I could do is actually kind of like turn it around, make it quite cool, and have it so the shelving unit is here, but then you can kind of reach through the shelving unit to do things on the blackboard. Alternatively, I could cut the workbench down, and so then the workbench can be tucked into this corner or this corner. But realistically, I kind of need the workbench to be this size just because it's a lot more helpful that way. I could maybe move forge from here. I could have the forge on this side. That could work. After an entire afternoon of dragging things around, the shelves are finally up. Of course, the workshop is an absolute state now. The job took way longer than expected, so I actually stopped recording in a desperate attempt to just crack on and get finished. It's feeling a lot less spacious in here, but it is a lot more organized. There's everything that it was kind of under here and also on top of there is now nicely in here. I don't have a bunch of stuff that was kind of here before. There's still plenty of forging space in here, which is really good. There's nothing that I'm going to be tripping on over here. We'll still have to move this somewhere. I think I might just kind of move it along a little bit. The blackboard is looking fantastic. It's dry now and it works quite nicely. I put the post vise down here as well. That's another project for another day, but now I won't be tripping over it anymore. Eventually, I do want to make some kind of like hand washing station here. This thing has got a leak in it, so that's a bit crap. I've moved our gas brackets from the other side of the wall to here now, so that's nicely out the way. It also means the gas is as far as possible away from the forges. That's all from me today. Tomorrow, we're going to start off the day with a car boot sale. Car boot sale wasn't the most successful trip out, but I did get some interesting bits. First up, we got this old adjustable wrench. This is going to go with my nice little collection here. I'm just kind of keeping them as just little collectibles. Next is this huge rasp. This is going to make really, really nice steel for making any knives. And then lastly, I just saw the end of this poking out. And I thought, is that a punch? It looks quite like a punch, and it is. So the way this works is if you're putting a hole in some metal, you don't want to drill it, maybe because it's, you know, some harder steel that would be hard to drill. You can just punch a hole straight through it. This one's actually a drift shape, which means because it has this taper right here, it means you can make a hole that's kind of small. You can make it slightly larger as well. So you kind of hold that over the anvil and smash it. That will definitely be useful in the future. The plan for today is to focus on refining some basic core blacksmithing skills, which basically means I'm currently mass producing slightly rubbish leaf keychains. They aren't exactly museum quality yet, but making a small army of these things has been fantastic for my hammer control. It's a really great way to build up some muscle memory, figure out how the metal actually moves, and generally just get a feel for my tools. If you look closely right here, you'll notice a masterclass in how not to control a hammer. It's been roughly 2 weeks since my last blacksmithing session, which is apparently exactly how long it takes for me to completely forget how my own arms work. The first proper step here is to forge the end of the metal stock down into a steep point, and honestly, watching back is a little bit painful because I clearly haven't got the metal hot enough. Ideally, it should be coming out the forge as a nice bright yellow rather than this dull orange that I'm currently just trying to beat into submission. Eventually, despite my terrible technique, the metal gives up and starts to form down into a point. It's not exactly the elegant taper I had in my head. I definitely made the point way too long, meaning this keychain is going to be bigger than planned. Still, I'm chalking it up as a valuable learning experience. Next up, I need to add what real blacksmiths call a shoulder to the metal bar. To do this, I pull the steel over the edge of the anvil and hit down on it on 2 adjacent sides. This creates a clear divide and sets up a foundation for the actual leaf shape. After that, something actually clicks and I'm back in action. My hammer blows are finally starting to look a little bit more deliberate and I'm whacking it with a lot more confidence. I use this newfound momentum to draw out the metal further, thinning it down to create the long stem of the leaf. Next is easily the best part of making these keychains. I lay the hot steel flat on the anvil and smack the ridge of the point down to form the wide leaf shape. Once that's flattened, I flip my hammer over to the peen side and start hitting along the edges. The goal here is to give it some nice organic texture and try to rebuild the ridge right along the center of the leaf. This part is supposed to be all about delicate hammer control, striking the exact center of the hammer face directly onto the edges of the leaf. Once I was somewhat happy with it, or at least accepting that hitting it anymore was just going to ruin it, it was time to drop the hardy cutoff tool into the anvil. It sits a little bit loose. This thing wasn't really made for this anvil, and I don't have a welder yet to fix the sizing of it. A few hammer swings later and the leaf is free from the steel bar. Now it's time to curl the stem into a loop. This is without a doubt my absolute least favorite part. It's incredibly fiddly trying to get this tiny glowing hot piece of metal out the forge and hammer it accurately around the horn of the anvil to make a perfect circle. After struggling with it for a bit, I completely abandoned the hammer and just used a pair of pliers to forcefully bend it into the shape I wanted. To finish it off, I dipped the hot leaf into this tin of water to quickly cool it down, which as you can see went well. After awkwardly fishing it out of the murky water, I threw it back into the residual heat of the forge just to warm it through and then cover it in a finishing paste. That's it for today. I'm learning, I'm trying my best, and I'm having a lot of fun. And these videos, they've been pretty fun to make as well. Thanks for watching.